If you've been wondering why your skin seems to be aging faster than it should, here's something that might change the way you think about it entirely. The answer probably isn't sitting on your bathroom counter. It's not hidden on the back of some serum bottle either. The things that actually determine how firm your skin feels, how deep those lines run, how much bounce it still has, those things aren't controlled by what you put on the surface. They're governed by what's happening about 2 to 3 millimeters beneath it. And that deeper layer? It's shaped almost entirely by what you eat, how well you sleep, and whether your body has the right raw materials to do its job at the cellular level. Let me give you a number that might reframe everything. Starting around age 25, research suggests the human body loses roughly 1% of its skin collagen per year. By your mid-40s, you may have lost somewhere between 15 and 20% of the structural protein that your skin literally depends on. And here's the uncomfortable truth. No topical cream currently available is designed to meaningfully rebuild what's breaking down in that deeper layer. But there is one specific compound, taken daily in a single spoon, that has been studied in randomized controlled trials and shown to activate the very cells responsible for producing new collagen. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. Most people think of skin aging as a surface issue. That's why they keep reaching for surface-level solutions, moisturizers, serums, retinol creams, peptide formulas. The global skincare market is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and a significant portion of that industry is built on this one fundamental misunderstanding. But after spending years studying what chronic nutritional deficiencies actually do to the body at a tissue level, I've come to realize something that most conversations about skin health gloss over entirely. Lines and wrinkles are not primarily a hydration problem. They are the visible evidence of structural collapse happening in the deepest living layer of your skin, a layer that topical products were never engineered to reach. Hello, I'm Dr. Leana. I'm a physician with a background in emergency medicine and preventive care. And while skin aging isn't something I treat in the emergency room, it is driven by the same underlying biological mechanisms I encounter at the root of nearly every chronic condition that brings patients through my doors: persistent inflammation, collagen degradation, and metabolic dysfunction. Over the years, I've watched people pour significant money into elaborate skincare routines, while the actual biological processes driving their skin's condition went completely unaddressed. The published research on what drives aging in the deeper skin layers and what can genuinely support rebuilding is far more specific, far more actionable, and far more surprising than the beauty industry has any incentive to share with you. Here is what we are going to cover in this video. First, why your skin's own barrier makes most topical anti-aging products biologically limited at the structural level. Second, what collagen actually is, how your body manufactures it, and precisely why production naturally declines as you get older. Third, the specific compound, consumed in 1 spoon per day, that peer-reviewed clinical trials suggest can measurably support dermal collagen density. Fourth, the 4 biological processes that may be silently degrading your collagen, regardless of what products you apply. And fifth, a practical daily protocol, including amounts, timing, and food-based cofactors, that the research suggests may help optimize this process. And before we get into all of that, if you're finding this useful so far, I genuinely appreciate it if you considered subscribing. It helps these videos reach more people who might benefit, and I'm grateful for your support. All right, let's dive in. To truly grasp why a single spoon of a specific compound might accomplish what an expensive serum cannot, you first need to understand what your skin is actually built from, because most people carry a mental picture that's fundamentally incomplete. Your skin isn't a single material. It's made up of 3 distinct layers, and each one has a completely different structure and purpose. The outermost layer, the one you can touch and see, is called the epidermis. It's remarkably thin, roughly the thickness of a sheet of paper, and its main role is to function as a sealed barrier between your internal body and the outside world. Beneath that sits a much thicker, structurally complex layer known as the dermis, and this is where the story of skin aging truly unfolds. The dermis is constructed primarily from 2 proteins, collagen and elastin. Collagen acts as the structural scaffolding. Picture a dense, tightly interwoven mesh of fibers arranged in an organized lattice, like the steel reinforcement inside poured concrete. That lattice is what gives youthful skin its firmness and its resistance to gravity. Elastin, woven around and between those collagen fibers, provides the snapback quality, the ability of your skin to bounce back after it's been pressed or stretched. So here's what's actually happening when a wrinkle forms. The collagen fibers don't vanish all at once. They thin gradually. They fragment into shorter, disorganized pieces. The structured lattice that once held the surface smooth and taut starts to develop gaps and weak points, and the surface sitting above those compromised areas sinks inward. What you notice on the outside, the line, the crease, is really the surface expression of a structural failure happening millimeters below. Think of it like a road developing a crack when the foundation underneath it weakens. You can't fix that crack by painting over the asphalt, and this is precisely the limitation of the surface treatment approach to skincare. Your skin barrier is one of the most sophisticated defense systems in the entire human body. It evolved over millions of years with one central purpose: keep foreign substances out, and it's exceptionally good at this job. Bacteria, pollutants, irritants. The vast majority of what lands on the surface of your skin is stopped from going deeper by the epidermis's tightly packed cellular structure and its lipid seal. The challenge for the skincare industry is that this barrier doesn't make special exceptions for premium ingredients. Most of the molecules found in anti-aging products are simply too large to pass meaningfully through the epidermal barrier and reach the dermis, where the actual structural repair work needs to occur. Hyaluronic acid, one of the most aggressively marketed compounds in the entire industry, has a molecular weight that, in standard serum formulations, largely prevents it from penetrating past the outermost layers of the epidermis. It can hydrate the surface, and it can create a temporary visual impression of plumper skin, but it doesn't reach the fibroblasts deep in the dermis that produce the body's own hyaluronic acid. Now, retinol is a notable exception. It does penetrate more deeply than most topical ingredients, and there is published evidence supporting dermal collagen improvements with long-term, prescription-strength retinoid use. Research in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology has documented measurable collagen changes in the dermis from retinoid therapy. However, the concentrations typically needed for that deeper effect can cause significant surface irritation. Results may plateau over time, and critically, even retinol is attempting to influence collagen synthesis from the outside in day through a much less direct pathway than supplying the collagen-producing cells from the inside. And this is where my perspective changed dramatically. The fibroblasts that manufacture your dermal collagen receive their instructions, their raw materials, and their activation signals not from whatever is sitting on the surface of your skin, but from what arrives through your bloodstream. The most direct route to your dermis runs through your gut. Fibroblasts are specialized cells living throughout the dermal layer. Their primary job is to build and maintain the collagen matrix. They are essentially the construction workforce operating inside your skin. When you're young, they are active, well-supplied, and highly productive. But as you get older, two things tend to happen at the same time. The rate at which they generate new collagen slows down, and the rate at which existing collagen is enzymatically broken down stays the same, or potentially increases. The balance tips. The structural deficit grows year by year. But here's what many people are never told. Fibroblast activity is not a fixed, unchangeable constant. It responds to signals. And one of the most powerful signals your fibroblasts can receive is the availability of specific amino acids, the molecular building blocks from which collagen is assembled. Collagen is built primarily from 3 amino acids: glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. Glycine alone accounts for approximately 1/3 of the entire collagen molecule. And here's the issue. Modern dietary patterns tend to be structurally deficient in these particular amino acids. We eat muscle meat, chicken breasts, lean steak, eggs, and we throw away the bones, tendons, skin, and connective tissue that were, throughout most of human history, a routine part of what people consumed. Those discarded parts are the ones densely concentrated in glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. Think of it this way. Your skin's fibroblasts are like a construction crew with the skills and the willingness to rebuild, but the supply truck keeps showing up with the wrong materials. You can't construct a collagen lattice without collagen's actual raw materials, any more than you could build a brick wall when the delivery truck only brings sand and glass. The result is a production system that is simultaneously understimulated and undersupplied. And here's an important nuance. Supplementing with just any general protein doesn't necessarily solve this. The body distributes amino acids from standard dietary protein to wherever they're most urgently needed: the heart, the liver, immune function. Skin is generally not at the top of the biological priority list. So what is the compound? It's hydrolyzed collagen, sold commercially as collagen peptides, and the daily amount used in clinical trials typically ranges from 10 to 15 grams, which is roughly 1 to 2 tablespoons of the powdered form. 1 spoon. But what makes it biologically different from simply eating more chicken or taking a regular protein supplement? This distinction is enormously important. The hydrolysis process, essentially a controlled enzymatic predigestion process, breaks collagen protein down into very short amino acid chains called dipeptides and tripeptides. 2 specific fragments have been identified by researchers as biologically active: prolyl hydroxyproline and hydroxyprolyl glycine. These fragments are small enough to survive digestion intact. They absorb through the intestinal wall as complete peptide units rather than being broken down into individual amino acids, and they circulate in the bloodstream in a form that is specifically recognized by dermal fibroblasts. When these peptide fragments reach the dermis through circulation, they bind to receptors on fibroblasts and trigger what researchers now describe as a biostimulation response. The fibroblasts interpret the arrival of these collagen fragment signals as evidence of significant collagen breakdown happening somewhere in the body, which is essentially what they are. And the fibroblasts respond by ramping up production. Published studies have reported increased type 1 collagen synthesis, increased hyaluronan production within the dermis itself, and in several cases, measurable reduction in the enzymes responsible for degrading existing collagen. So you're not just delivering building materials, you're essentially sending a biological alarm signal that tells the construction crew the structure needs repair. Increase output. That is a mechanism that no topical cream can replicate. Not because the creams lack quality, but because the signaling pathway doesn't run from the surface inward. It runs from the bloodstream outward. The published research is clear and more extensive than most people realize. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial published in the Journal of Cosmetic Dermatology followed 69 women between the ages of 35 and 55. Half received a specific dose of hydrolyzed collagen peptides daily. Half received a placebo. After just 8 weeks, the collagen group showed statistically significant improvements in skin elasticity compared to the placebo group, with no changes to their diet, exercise, or skincare routines. These were not subjective self-assessments. These were quantifiable biological changes measured with validated clinical instruments. A follow-up study from the same journal the following year used ultrasound imaging, the same technology used in medical settings to assess structural density, to evaluate dermal collagen directly. Participants receiving hydrolyzed collagen showed measurable increases in dermal collagen density and a visible, measurable reduction in wrinkle depth around the eye area after 8 weeks. The placebo group showed neither of these changes. A review published in the International Journal of Dermatology analyzed 19 separate clinical studies involving over 1,100 participants across multiple countries. The overall conclusion was that oral collagen supplementation consistently improved skin elasticity, dermal hydration, and wrinkle depth, with the most pronounced effects typically appearing between weeks 8 and 12 of daily use. And a study from Penn State University's Nutrition Research Group demonstrated something particularly noteworthy. When collagen peptide supplementation was combined with vitamin C, which I'll explain in the protocol section, the rate of new collagen synthesis in connective tissue increased significantly compared to collagen peptides taken on their own. The cofactor is not optional. It is biochemically essential to the process. Now here's something most skincare content never talks about, and it explains why some people take collagen and see meaningful results, while others see very little. Your existing collagen is being actively broken down by biological processes happening inside your body right now. And if those processes aren't understood and managed, you're essentially trying to fill a bathtub while the drain is wide open. Process number 1, glycation. When glucose from refined carbohydrates and added sugars chemically bonds with collagen fibers, it produces compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These cause collagen fibers to cross-link abnormally, becoming stiff, fragmented, and resistant to normal repair. Research published in the British Journal of Dermatology found a direct correlation between skin AGE accumulation and clinically measured skin aging scores, independent of a person's actual chronological age. Glycated collagen is not functional collagen. It is structurally compromised material that actively disrupts the organized fibers around it. A consistently high-sugar dietary pattern doesn't merely fail to help your skin. According to published research, it is a documented mechanism of collagen degradation. Process number 2, chronically elevated cortisol. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, has a direct suppressive effect on fibroblast activity. When cortisol levels remain chronically elevated, whether from sustained psychological stress, disrupted sleep, or ongoing inflammatory conditions, the cells responsible for producing collagen can operate in a suppressed state. A review in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology found that glucocorticoid exposure, the hormone class that includes cortisol, directly inhibited collagen synthesis and accelerated dermal thinning. This is a key reason why people under chronic stress sometimes appear to age more rapidly than their calendar age would suggest. The research indicates this is not merely subjective, it's measurable fibroblast inhibition. Process number 3, matrix metalloproteinases from chronic inflammation. Your body produces enzymes called matrix metalloproteinases, or MMPs, whose biological function is to break down old or damaged collagen. In controlled amounts, they're a normal and necessary part of tissue remodeling. But when chronic inflammation is present, from a consistently poor diet, excess visceral fat, sedentary lifestyle, or persistent infections, MMP activity can become chronically elevated. The degradation rate may outpace production. Think of it as having more demolition workers than construction workers on a building site every single day. And process number 4, ultraviolet-induced oxidative damage. UV radiation, specifically UVA wavelengths, which penetrate through glass and cloud cover year-round, generates free radicals in the dermis that can directly damage collagen fibers and stimulate MMP production. This is not a theoretical concern. UV-induced photoaging is estimated to account for up to 80% of visible facial aging in adults, according to research published in Clinical, Cosmetic, and Investigational Dermatology. The damage accumulates silently, long before visible signs appear. Using daily broad-spectrum SPF is not merely a cosmetic preference. From a tissue preservation perspective, it's one of the most evidence-supported steps in any skin aging protocol. Now let's put together the practical protocol, with specific amounts and timing, based on what the clinical research supports. Step 1. Hydrolyzed collagen peptides, 10 to 15 grams daily. Look for a product specifically labeled as hydrolyzed collagen or collagen peptides, not gelatin, not bone broth powder. Gelatin contains similar amino acids, but it hasn't undergone full hydrolysis, so the specific bioactive peptide fragments tend to be present in much lower concentrations. The powdered form dissolves completely in water, coffee, or any warm liquid without meaningfully altering flavor or texture. Timing matters less than consistency. Morning or evening, both work. Just make it daily. Step 2. Vitamin C alongside every serving. approximately 200 to 500 milligrams from a supplement or from a whole food source. This is non-negotiable from a biochemistry standpoint. Vitamin C is the essential cofactor for prolyl hydroxylase, the enzyme that converts proline into hydroxyproline-dase, the stabilized amino acid that holds the collagen triple helix structure together. Without adequate vitamin C available in the system at the time of collagen synthesis, the fibers may not form correctly. Half a kiwi, a small glass of orange juice, or a handful of strawberries consumed alongside your collagen serving can satisfy this requirement. A supplement works just as well. Step 3. Reduce refined sugar and ultra-processed carbohydrates. This is the close the drain step. You can't meaningfully rebuild collagen while glycation continues to degrade it. This doesn't require perfection, it requires gradually reducing the frequency and volume of high glycemic loads that chronically spike blood glucose and accelerate AGE formation. Swapping refined carbohydrates for whole food alternatives at the meals where you have the most control is a practical starting point. Step 4. Prioritize deep sleep. Aim for a minimum of 7 to 8 hours. Growth hormone, one of the primary drivers of fibroblast activation and connective tissue repair, is released in its largest pulse during slow-wave sleep, which occurs mainly in the first half of the night. Chronic sleep of fewer than 6 hours has been shown to measurably reduce growth hormone output and can directly impair skin regeneration. Research in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology found that chronically poor sleepers showed significantly accelerated skin aging markers compared to adequate sleepers, even when diet was controlled for. Step 5. Daily broad-spectrum SPF, minimum SPF 30, applied every morning year-round, not primarily because of visible sunburn risk, but because of the cumulative, silent, UVA-driven MMP activation occurring each day you're exposed to daylight without protection. This is consistently one of the most cost-effective steps in any collagen preservation strategy. Step 6. An anti-inflammatory dietary pattern. Berries, leafy greens, fatty fish, walnuts. Reducing systemic inflammation can help reduce MMP activity, which means potentially less enzymatic collagen degradation. Practically speaking, this might look like 1 cup of mixed berries daily, 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week for their omega-3 content, and a handful of walnuts, about 30 grams, stored in the fridge to preserve freshness. These cover the core anti-inflammatory bases without requiring a complete dietary overhaul. From years of clinical practice, here are 4 insights I share with patients that you're unlikely to find on a typical skincare blog. First, the 12-week minimum is biological, not commercial. The dermis rebuilds slowly, and it does so by necessity. Rapid structural turnover in connective tissue would actually be dangerous. Published research consistently shows that measurable improvements in dermal collagen density typically appear between weeks 8 and 12 of daily supplementation. If you try this for 2 weeks and stop because you don't see anything dramatic, you've stopped before the biology has had time to respond. 12 weeks of consistency is the clinical threshold. Second, morning collagen with a balanced breakfast may be preferable to taking it on an empty stomach. When collagen peptides are consumed alongside a meal that includes carbohydrates, the resulting insulin response can promote amino acid uptake into tissues, including dermal tissue. Taking your collagen with a complete meal rather than fasted or with black coffee alone may help optimize delivery to fibroblasts. It's not essential, but it's a meaningful refinement. Third, your skin's condition is a window into your connective tissue health system-wide. The same collagen matrix that forms the scaffolding of your face also forms the structural framework of your blood vessels, your joint cartilage, your gut lining, and your tendons. When you support the conditions for healthy collagen production through adequate amino acids, vitamin C, reduced glycation, and quality sleep, you're not just potentially improving what you see in the mirror. You may be reinforcing the structural integrity of multiple organ systems simultaneously. And fourth, what you measure determines what you can improve. Instead of evaluating your progress based on what you see in the mirror on any random morning, Photograph the same area under the same lighting at weeks 0, 4, 8, and 12. The structural changes occurring in the dermis tend to be gradual and uniform. They don't produce dramatic overnight differences, but they can become clearly visible in a controlled comparison over time. Now let me address some common mistakes people make with this approach. Mistake number 1, using a standard protein powder and expecting the same results. Regular whey or casein protein provides individual amino acids that contribute to collagen synthesis, but they don't contain the specific bioactive peptide fragments that directly signal fibroblast activity. The biostimulation effect documented in clinical trials is specific to hydrolyzed collagen peptides, not to general protein intake. Many people who try a collagen protein product and see nothing are actually using a standard protein powder with collagen listed as a secondary ingredient. Check that hydrolyzed collagen or collagen peptides is listed as the primary ingredient. Mistake number 2, expecting visible results in fewer than 6 weeks. This is the single most common reason people give up. They try it for 3 weeks, see no dramatic transformation, and conclude it doesn't work. The biology simply doesn't operate on that timeline. The studies documenting measurable wrinkle depth reductions used 8 to 12-week protocols. Quitting at week 3 is like pulling bread out of the oven after 10 minutes, deciding it isn't going to rise, and throwing it away. Mistake number 3, supplementing while completely ignoring the destroyers. Taking collagen peptides while continuing to consume large amounts of refined sugar, sleeping only 5 hours a night, and doing nothing to manage chronic inflammation is like trying to renovate a building while the structural damage is actively accelerating. The supplement alone may not be able to overcome a body in full breakdown mode. The protocol delivers its full potential only when the collagen-degrading processes are also addressed. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. Aging skin is not an inevitable, unstoppable outcome of simply getting older. The patients I've encountered who maintain genuinely healthy skin structure well into their 60s and 70s are not genetically gifted. They're not just lucky. They consistently do things that supply their fibroblasts with the right inputs, and they minimize the processes working against those cells every day. These systems exist in your body right now.